How you doing, dude?
Good. How you?
I'm doing pretty good. Doing good. I I'm ready, dude. Let's talk about it. Give me the intro. Tell me your race, your league, and your kind of like your overall playstyle, like just a vague overview of it.
So I'm Diamond 3 right now. Zerg. I've been playing Zerg basically since StarCraft 2 came out, off and on. Used to play Brood War back in the day. Um, yeah, that's playstyle. I've been trying to follow the Bronze GM stuff since I discovered that. Though when I get tilted, I definitely go for a more aggressive playstyle.
Okay. Um, sounds reasonable. You're like, fuck this game. I'm gonna start cheesing.
Yeah, well, cheesing or trying to do a bad wing Bane Muto.
Yeah, yeah. No worries. All right. So I guess if you have any questions about anything before you want to get it going, you feel free to ask. If and when we're in the middle of it too, you can also feel free to interrupt me at any point to ask me anything that's on your mind.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
guess uh, otherwise, just go if you're not already on, log into the North American server, and then we'll.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, you're already on. Okay. So
Oh yeah.
all right. So like I can tell you how to do it, but all you got to do is open up the GM list, and then you can send me a message, and we can make a party easy peasy.
Okay. Let's see. Where's the GM list located at,
Okay,
actually?
so just in the top right, click your portrait, like your avatar, and then it'll open
Yep.
up your profile. On the left side, hit ladders, and in the same exact spot, click Grandmaster,
Yep.
and
All
then
right.
scroll down to rank 68.
Oh, one away. There we go.
Do, 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 do. Nice. All right, good shit. Good shit. All right, so I'll make you leader, and then you can just do watch with others in the replay you want to jump into.
Yeah, yeah. No, I do a lot of replay reviews with some of the other guys who are in my
Okay.
clan.
All right, nice.
All right. I think maybe I want to start with one that was a TVZ that was a loss from a while back. I remember I got Mass Raven pushed, and it just felt like a really frustrating game.
Okay.
I think the two main things that I've been kind of thinking about looking at, I have a horrible all army hotkey habit, and I'm curious about whether it's going to be better to just unbind it and take the MMR hit and learn around it that way, or to try and just push myself to use more and more hotkeys over time.
You
Because I know eventually that will
you
end up.
you could unbind it if you really want to make a drastic change. That's definitely going to make the change happen faster for you, and it will make you play worse for a little while because it's going to feel awkward. But I would say if like we're just okay, this is probably the best way to say this. When you think about when you want to use select all army, there should only be like one situation when it should apply, especially as Zerg, and that select all army hotkey should only be when you're trying to reorganize shit that's all over the place. So like
Okay.
if you've sent, like, let's just say you're sitting at your base and you select some army and you go, okay, Terran's dropping me or something in my main. Okay, send some units out to defend that. Okay, now I'm also getting dropped in my third. Send some army to go defend that. And you're not sending the same units repeatedly to different locations, but you're splitting your army up into different locations, and you're making more army as you go. And you're like, okay, well, I don't know if I have all my shit selected, and also on top of that, like, it's everywhere. It's just scattered. So if I want to
Mm-hmm.
reorganize it, I could just select all army, make a control group out of it, and then you've now reorganized it, and then you should get in the habit of using your whatever it's called, your keybind, your 1 2 3 4 5 whatever. The reason why,
Okay.
also another reason why keybinds are way fucking better, is because you cannot double tap select all army and it will go to your army, but you can double tap like 1 1 and it'll go to your army. So it makes it,
Yeah.
yeah, it makes it really easy to bounce between screens when you're macroing and microing at the same time.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And then I think the other one that I'm just going to be looking at is like proper third base timing and saturation across different situations.
Sure. Yeah, that's definitely a big one for a lot of people.
I've got a couple replays lined up here. Some of them, I've got a couple that were wins that I'd like to just like go over and say like, this felt good. What can I do better?
Yeah.
And then this one's obviously a loss.
Sure.
Do you want me to promote you to lobby host?
Yeah. I'll just go through the timer and stuff. And yeah, man. We'll I mean I think the select army thing definitely, yeah, we just talked about. That'll help you a lot if you get in the habit of using control groups for sure. And like you said Mutiling Bane earlier, right? Is that like what you like to do generally all the time against Terran?
No, usually I try and go for like a Roach Ravager Hydra that I either transition into Broodlord or Lurker.
Okay.
But Mutiling Bane is what I do when I get tilted and angry.
Okay. I see. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, we'll definitely look at your build right now. That's always a huge one. Some people might not realize, where things are going wrong here. And one of the big ones we're going to look at is your larva. And so far, what's happened, I like how you've reacted. I mean, that's annoying as shit for the Terran to have done that, but he's also messing his own build up to do that. Like, look at that shit. He hasn't even started a barracks yet. So, his build sucks. And I like that you didn't, like, take too much pressure from it and go, oh god, I gotta pull 5 drones and kill the Inji Bay or something. Some people overreact to this really hard.
Okay.
So far,
real
so
quick,
good.
is there a way I can follow your camera in the replay?
There is not, unfortunately. The only time you can follow cameras is when it's a live game, when you're watching a referee.
Okay.
But I mean, I'll always try to like address what I'm talking about and not just like be very vague about it.
Okay. Sounds good.
But yeah, like so far your reaction to the natural block is great, and you're playing very standard, which is totally fine. You're still going for a gas. You're going for a pool. It's a safe opener. You're not really letting your larva get too crazy so far. Your larva on your close patches, all but one are stacked properly. There's only one patch in your whole mineral line that's not stacked properly. That's always something to note or to look at. But overall, pretty good.
Do you recommend worrying about worker stacking?
Only on your first base, yes. Like on your natural and your third and fourth and stuff like that, no. It's irrelevant at that point because like there's so many other things going on that are more important. All you want to worry about then is like, do I have 16? Just because you can look at that really quickly and you can just know, because you can just look at the top of the hatchery. But on your first base, when you're like literally sitting in the first 60 seconds of the game, especially, you can hit 16 drones in that middle line really fast, and then nothing else is really happening. All you got to look at is like, is there maybe a SCV that's going to cross my Overlord at a weird time, or a probe, or lings, or like, it's just like looking at like checking the minimap and just like making sure your drones are stacked two. So definitely do it.
Is there a technique to that? Just like reassigning the gather point?
So
or do you just do it manually?
all you got to do, you got to do it manually. All you got to do is if you ever see a patch, so always prioritize the close patches first. And if you want to know which patches are close, if you click it, it's always the patch with the higher amount. So make sure those always have 2 per, because they give you the most income. So if you have like 3 drones on a patch that's far and only 1 on a patch that's close, your efficiency of minerals is going down by like probably maybe like 2 minerals every 5 seconds. And that if that happens multiple patches, it adds up over time, where you could be like, okay, well, over the course of 2 minutes, I've effectively lost like 74 minerals or some, like, which again, if it keeps going and going and going throughout the game, it does add up. And again, like, these numbers aren't as crucial when it's your third and fourth base and stuff like that, or even your natural. And also, a lot of times by the time you have a natural, there's a lot of attacks that could be happening. Like, you get proxied, or Reapers come in, Hellions come in, Adepts, Lings. Like, all these things could be annoying as shit on your natural. So it's not as critical there, but it's very, very, very important in your main. And like I said before, 6 of your patches are perfect. One close patch has 1 on it, and 1 far patch has 3 on it. And the way you can figure that out is if you glance at it, just watch your patches for a second in your main right now. I'm gonna resume the game, and just see if you can just stare at it and see if you can analyze which patch has 3. And the way you can tell is a drone never leaves the patch ever. Like, there's always a drone sitting there waiting to go.
Okay. So it's the same as the Vespane geyser for the close patch.
Sorry, say that again.
it takes 3 to complete a round trip, while 1
Oh,
is always where
okay,
you
okay. So let me explain this too to make sure it makes sense. A close patch, like every patch, if you have 2 drones per patch, it's perfect. Like that is ideal. If you have a third drone on a patch, it is never going to get 100% efficiency. The third drone on a close patch would get probably like 0.2% efficiency, like 20% efficiency of what it should get because it's barely mining. On a far patch, it gets like 50% efficiency of what it should get because it mines a little bit more, but it still doesn't get to mine the whole time.
Okay.
So if that's why you get the lost minerals if you have 3 on one patch and only 2 on another, because it's just a little bit inefficient if you have 3 on one.
All right.
And the patch, and then the way you can tell is if you ever have a patch where it like if you look right now, one of your patches has no drone even touching it, and if you ever see that is 100%. That means there's only 1 drone mining it, which is your very very middle patch.
Yeah.
And then if you look just to the right of it, watch the drones right next to it on the right, and watch how a drone is always sitting there.
Ah. Okay.
So that drone that's sitting there, he's sitting there for like 50% of what a mining rotation is, just sitting there waiting, and then he starts mining. And it keeps happening repeatedly because that's just how the timing is going to work on this with 3 drones on that patch. So if you just shifted 1 drone from that 3 to just to the left 1 patch and made it 22222 on all patches, your efficiency of minerals would go up by probably, I don't know. These numbers I'm kind of, it's not going to be exact, but I would say you would probably get another like 15 minerals a minute, honestly. Just because you fixed that.
Oh, yeah.
Yo, a lot of like. Thank you for the 5 gifted subs, man. Much appreciated. Thank you. All right, and now going further forward. Okay, so this is another thing too. Your gas.
Yeah.
You just started Zergling speed. Are you the kind of guy who likes to get Overlord speed?
Yes.
Okay, so this is fine then. Because as I say, the only reason why this would be okay is if you're an Overlord speed kind of guy.
Yeah.
And you are starting Overlord speed. Okay, but now, if you get Overlord speed, you should actually still take drones off gas just for a moment here. You're banking way too much on the gas now. Because what's going to happen now is you've now what Overlord speed does is it does slightly hurt your economy because you leave drones on gas longer. And what that's going to do is that's going to give you the trade-off is that's supposed to happen is it gives you the supreme like information of always having the right counter. If you don't get Overlord speed, sometimes you have to kind of guesstimate what's going to happen. You have to be like, okay, well, they could do one of these 2 things. I'm going to prepare kind of for both of them. And in a way where it's like it could be Mass Hellions or it could be Hellbat Marauder. I'm going to make roaches or whatever. But my point I'm trying to make here is you take a economy hit to yourself to mine Overlord speed, which is now going to give you the perfect reaction to what's supposed to happen. But already, automatically, you are now kind of screwing yourself over if you don't take drones off gas ever, because you already lose out on the fact that you can be economically stable versus somebody who goes for a 3 command center opener. Like you're always behind now versus 3 CC openers unless you were going to all in. And then it doesn't make sense either if you're going to all in after Overlord speed, because if you're going to all in, timing is everything there, and you would just rather do an all in before, before you basically scouted him, like because you want everything. And I see chat right now saying, "ViBE, this is Cyril's build." Well, guys, I'm gonna tell you a fucking secret. If you play like a pro gamer and you're not actually at 7K MMR, good luck. Their builds are very tailored to their own skill level.
So do you take them off and oversaturate your first base, or do you send them
you would transfer
to the second base?
You would just transfer. Yeah, you would transfer to your third now. Ideally, it would be your natural, but obviously he blocked you with an engineering bay. But all that's gonna happen right now is your gas is gonna be very very high, and it's gonna definitely slow your economy down.
Okay.
And right now, there's no reason to do it either because you right now, so far, you don't know if he has a natural. You don't know what's at his ramp. I would honestly recommend, even though you get Overlord speed, at the very least with your first Overlord, poke and see if he expanded. Because you will, like, the only way your Overlord would die is if he opens up with Marine first. And your Overlord would die regardless if you did open up Marine first, even if you didn't try to scout the natural at all, your Overlord would die. because
Okay.
he would be attacking your overlord. Like if you look to the left a little bit, where like you see that like the vision blocker where it has like that like the vision wall or whatever just to the left of your overlord on the low ground.
Yeah.
Like that's when your overlord, like when it's over that's when the marine would be shooting it. Honestly, if he went marine first right away and skipped reaper, so it wouldn't even matter. Your overlord would die before it gets to the cliff no matter what. If it got caught there. But if he goes reaper first ever and he doesn't just try to kill the overlord as fast as he possibly can, if you just scout the natural, that already tells you so much information that, for instance, you don't need to go crazy on the gas right now as well. Even before you have overlord speed done. Overlord speed will just tell you. Or sorry, go ahead. I keep interrupting you.
I was just gonna say that's actually been poking for the naturals has been something I've started doing the past like week or so.
Yeah.
And I've been wondering if it's worth doing. Usually, what I do is I rally first overlord into the natural and then onto the little cliff. But right here, I didn't see it.
Yeah, because like a lot of times too, if you actually have your overlords poking the natural to see if he just expanded, and if you actually see a reaper cross, you could actually, with no doubt, you will not lose the overlord. You could scout his ramp on most maps. I would say the only map that this might not make sense on is maybe Purity and Industry, because the ramp is like really deep back away from the cliff. But pretty much like a map like this, you could easily, if it was Reaper first, you could scout the ramp itself and see, okay, what do you have? Do you have a Reaper? Or sorry, do you have a barracks with a reactor? Do you have a factory? Do you have, what add-on are you choosing to be on that barracks? And what's going on there, and then you don't have to go all the way into his main all the way. You could just like scout the the edges of his buildings there, and then go back to the cliff, and then wait for overlord speed and come back again, and it will give you a nice read on the opener.
Okay.
Because here's another thing too. Last thing I'll say, things like this make a lot of sense too. Like for instance, you made 6 lings blindly. If you actually saw with an overlord that he didn't eat, like we'll go back to when your overlord first got here. Okay, watch this shit. Your overlord, let's say right now it scouts down, and you don't see a reaper, but you want to scout the ramp though, and you keep going down. By the time you get to maybe like 222, or maybe a little longer than that, maybe like 225, your overlord would probably see the edge of that barracks, or something. It would take probably like 10 seconds to get just to like seeing the edge of the ramp. And imagine if you saw this around like 225, 226, whatever. You saw an engineering bay. You saw a barracks that's not even done yet, and you saw a command center in his natural that is almost done. And if you look in production, you're making 4 lings. You don't even need to make these lings.
Okay.
Because if I was you and I was looking at this, I would be like, okay, this fucking dude looks like he's gonna actually make a planetary fortress at his natural, and it also looks like there's no Reaper here because obviously the barracks is super fucking late. Like even if you did go Reaper, your queens would be out before it is even remotely close to being to your base. And the reason why
you can save the money on those lings and just transmit it into drones.
Yeah, you could just be greedier because there's no threat here. Because the reason why people make lings is because you have to have something there to defend your drones before your queens are out. Because if a person goes for a barracks as fast as they can, which is what most Terrans do, they will have a Reaper in your base. We're assuming this is not a proxy either, like a standard Terran. They'll have a Reaper in your base, probably like 15 seconds before your queen's done. When you compare a standard build for Terran to a standard build for Zerg, so the lings they build faster than a queen does, and the lings are what actually allows you to be like, no, you're not going to kill my drones right now, and then suddenly the queen spawns 15 seconds later, and the lings have absorbed the damage of the Reaper, and now the queen can finish the rest. Because as soon as the queen's out, the Reaper's pretty like, okay, I'm gonna not fuck with that anymore. The queen will kick the shit out of me. So you actually made 6 lings. You made 2 already, and then you're making 4 more. I would say 2 is not that bad, only because it's the purpose of maybe killing the engineering bay, which is fine. You'd eventually clean it out to re-expand there. But 6 is overkill right now, and if you had scouted what he was doing. And again, this is just a particular build for Terran, but do you understand what I mean though? Like it definitely gives you a big read here on what's happening.
Yeah. No, that actually, honestly, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I like that you're going back to droning though. But again, we'll go back to the overlord or the gas thing again. We'll see what you do with it in a minute here. But the gas is definitely going to hurt your economy because your natural is going to saturate very, very slowly. at this point.
Yeah, I'd probably just leave them on there the whole time.
Yeah, it's just gonna give you so much. Like, because now what this is gonna do as well, this is gonna reinforce your mindset to be like, okay, I need to take a layer. I got a lot of gas, and you're gonna also think things like, or maybe I should take a roach horn. Maybe I should take a bane nest. Maybe I should do things that cost gas. And you really don't want to be. You do not want to be investing, because it's like a double negative when you take too much gas too fast when you're not all-inning.
Bargain, bro.
Thank you for the $1 dono. Sorry, that's a long dono. You don't want to be doing things that are like, you invest into gas where you're losing saturation on your natural, and then you're like, all right, well, you know, I'm missing out on, like, if my natural could have had 5 drones early on when I was done mining the gas that I needed at that point. It could have had 5 drones, but it really only had 3 because I was, you know, I left them on gas, which is it only sounds like, oh, it's only 2 drones, but it's actually huge when you say 3 to 5, because it's almost double the drone count at that exact point in time, which allows you to do things like spin your larva faster. It allows you to make your queens faster. It allows you to take your third base faster. And right now, your third base, I know there was an engineering bay blocking you, but the fact that your third base is still not started yet at 43 supply is very late.
Okay.
Like, your third, you actually ideally want your third base to be going down roughly around like 30 supply against Terran, roughly. Like, anywhere between 28 and 32 is acceptable, I would say.
And is that the same for ZVZ and PVZ?
This is no it depends on your opener. If you go for a speedling expand to a third base, yes. ZVZ though, like, if you're getting, the thing about ZVZ is, like, if you get 12 pooled or some shit, I don't know how often that happens to you. It definitely won't. That won't be the case then. Like, sometimes ZVZ gets very weird.
Okay.
But assuming it's a standard game, yeah, it's about the same. Like, if you're gonna get ling speed, you're gonna go for a natural, you're gonna go for a third. Yeah, between 28 to 32 supply, ideally, is when you want to take your third.
Okay.
And then, yeah, like right now, I imagine you're probably going to make a layer or something. But, like, you can notice your gas is in the 200 range at this point. That's so much gas. And you're taking another gas. This is definitely going to, it's just, your economy's very, very, and now it's 300 plus. Your economy's very, like, I can't tell you how much this is fucking your economy up right now.
Okay.
I do like you made a roach warren, but here's the timers of what I kind of want you to go for. That I think would be very just solid for you. If you, this is what I think you should do. Get ling speed, and then as soon as you get ling speed, I don't mind that you leave 3 drones on gas if you want to go for overlord speed right after, but you can get overlord speed, and then as soon as you get overlord speed, take 2 drones off of gas, and then fully saturate your natural, okay? And then as soon as you're fully saturated on your natural, do not rip drones off your mineral lines. Make 2 new drones and resaturate that gas again, like with new ones.
Okay.
And then obviously you're also going to have a third ideally started by now. Like it will, you know, it'll be underway already. Do not take gases 2 and 3, which you are taking now. Do not take these gases until your third base is between 8 and 12 drones on the mineral line.
Okay.
And then do not take gases 4, 5, and 6 until you're fully saturated on all 3 bases.
And so in that case, you're just relying on scouting information for,
in that case,
keeping aware of early pressure.
Yeah, I'll tell you right now, if you do the build that way, you have more than enough gas to make roaches if you need roaches. You have more than enough gas to make banes if you go baneling route. You can make roaches or banes with this style, and you will also you'll have more money. So you should also have more queens. If you scout that it's not like, oh, it's not battlecruiser, it's not banshees, it's not something liberator heavy, it's not something weird with air, then you could stop making queens around like 7. We'll have like 3 on hatcheries and like 4 making creep. But if you do scout, if you do scout that it's going to be something on the air, or it's something with high pressure that you need more queens for, you should not stop making queens until you have like 9 or 10. So you'd have like 3 injecting, and then like 6 or 7 making creep and also defending your base.
Okay, that sounds good. I used to go for more queens than I do now. I stopped because I thought I might be wasting resources.
Yeah.
But
It's going to be hard. The thing is, too, is doing a heavy queen build is going to be really hard to actually make work when you do things like this, where you mine so much gas so early before you can afford it. Because if you prioritize the minerals more, that all that does is it inflates your mineral count more, so that it allows you to do things like add in an extra 600 minerals of queens that you wouldn't have otherwise been able to have afforded because you had 400 gas in the bank or something. So you're scouting him again. You see a starport with a tech lab. You saw a banshee. You see a planetary at the natural. If I had to ask you right now, what do you think the best response to this kind of a player would be? What do you think it is?
I mean, looking at it now, I would say I'd probably think that it was a pretty late. Everything seems late. Like, I honestly, looking at this, I wouldn't quite be sure what he was doing. I'd be guessing he'd probably be going for. My initial thought would be I would have expected to see like some Hellions, maybe another starport, and this would be BC pressure because he's trying to defend his natural. But obviously that wasn't the case because I didn't see a fusion core.
Sure. I mean, he always could proxy a building too. Like some people even do that, where like maybe in like top right or bottom left, they just build it in like the corner of the map, and you're like, aha, you didn't know I was going BCs, did you? Like that kind of stuff can happen, but like if the fact that you know, okay, he's going starport pressure, you're gonna make more queens anyways, and because your overlord also did scout earlier that he had a banshee, like right here. I think right now you see a banshee. If you see something like this, it's never a bad idea to just make a spore crawler, because if someone's going to invest into banshees, like just having a like at this, because at this point you should right now at 5 minutes and 17 seconds you should already be, if not already fully saturated on 3 bases, very close to it. You should have like 16 16 16 or like 16 16 and like 12. We're talking drones on mineral lines. So you should have a ton of drones already right now that are just mining, and making spores now, like right around 5 minutes or so, is not going to be as detrimental to your economy, where it's like you're not making them too early. Like you're going to barely notice your economy changes by making them at that point, because you're still making drones and you're instantly replacing them, and you're already fully saturated anyway. So your economy's like banking like crazy right now. So that would keep you, like the queen count you should have, and then the spores you would also have would keep you safe from Banshee, from Cloak, from BC, all these things. Like nothing could hit you with that in the air that would actually pressure you right now. Nothing would be scary. So I would say that if you scouted that, the correct response would then be just take another base, and because you right now, what are you also seeing? You're seeing a command center floating across the fucking gap. So you could actually, if you had any ground units like your speedlings, you could go over there and maybe poke it, but I'm not saying you have to kill the command center, but you could just annoy him, maybe kill some SCVs if you could. If not, you definitely don't have to engage that. But if you don't already have a bunch of units and your drone count is not great either, I would not recommend to just go all in now. You don't need to. It's not necessary, because the fact that this guy's going planetaries, it already gives you the advantage if you just make drones. Planetaries are so bad defensively for the Terran if you don't attack him, because all that happens is he loses a mule every minute, which a mule every minute is like, it's like 240 minerals a minute that he's losing. So every minute, every minute that goes by, he's just fucking falling behind in overall money he could have. So if you respond to that by going, all right, how about I just expand again and make more drones, and I could even expand again so that my current drones could rotate when they start mining patches out efficiently. Like I would say the ideal drone count to go for right now would be like 85 drones. Like, oh look, PF Turtle Boy, let's just go 85 drones as fast as we can with queen coverage, because he opened starport, and the starport will do nothing if I have queens and 1 spore per base. And then you have like an overseer roaming around with your queens. So just in case it is like roaming banshees when you're not near a spore, the banshee queen, the banshee will get shit on by overseer queen, easy peasy.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Because like right now, I'll just say this: if you look at the economy tab right now, you have 39 drones to his 45 SCVs, and he's also going PFs, which is, you know, that's the fact that you only have 39 drones by almost 6 minutes here is definitely a problem. That's a very slow drone count, and one of the, again, a big reason of this is one of the facts is your third is super late and you mine gas the whole time. It makes it hard to spend your money. And you also took other gases way too fast. Alright, so you're going for Roach Hydra, and I'm gonna pause it again right here. And we're gonna throw this out there really fast. I can make you a replay before we're done with this lesson, just to give you an example replay. But at 7 minutes and 13 seconds, your drone count right now is 51, and you do have 6 more in production, but it's currently 51 at 7:13. You could be at 66 by like 5:50, doing the exact same thing you did. Or okay, well I'll say 6 minutes because you took Overlord speed. It does delay it a little bit more. 6 minutes, like 6 minutes to 6:10, you could have been 66 drones with Overlord speed. So again, we'll just clean up your build a lot in the beginning of the game, and then you could also, even though you got Overlord speed, and even though you went for you know, like if you do the build efficiently, the exact thing you're doing of Roach Hydra, at this point in the game, you could be. I don't know if you're gonna max on Roach Hydra, but if you do, you could be maxed on Roach Hydra at like 8 minutes and 55 seconds, or just before 9 minutes, with Overlord speed included, and also even Lurker that you're doing now. You could have Lurkers too.
Okay.
So if we look at we're gonna pause it at 850, and we're gonna see your supply. You could be maxed at 850, and you're at 140. So your economy right now is at 60. So your economy right now should be like, by like 6:40 to 7 minutes, you should be at 85 drones, and then by now you should also be maxed out. And nothing has happened so far this game. And one of the reasons why you knew nothing was going to happen so far this game is because this dude just keeps making PF, PF, PF. And how many of you have you scouted every PF he has? You have. You've seen every PF, and he's making turrets at all of them. This guy is like basically saying, "Yeah, go ahead and attack me early. Yeah, go for it. Like I'm gonna be ready to defend it. I got PF, I got turrets, I'm fine." But if you just max out, and if you were maxed right now and you hit like his bottom middle base, you would crush that thing with like, you know, 30 roaches and like 30 hydras, or like 10 lurkers, whatever you went for. You would just run that shit over, no problem. There's nothing he could do. He doesn't even have an army right now. This whole game, he's built 1 Banshee, 1 Viking, and 3 Marines, and just turrets, PFs, and buildings.
Okay. Yeah, I think some of this has been confidence play. I've been struggling with TVZ for a while, and it's been getting a little bit better, but I've tended to play like
I think one of the
very slowly.
I think one of the reasons. Sorry, keep going. I keep interrupting you. My bad.
Oh no, you're fine. That's all I was gonna say.
I think one of the reasons why you're playing without confidence in TVZ, or just in general, is because you don't give yourself enough scouting, and you're relying way too much on Overlord speed. Because here's the thing: if you actually scout a little bit more, a little bit earlier on, like if you have your first Overlord do the things we talked about, where you poke the ramp, and you're like, you get reads on like what order he's doing things in, and then you also, let's say your second Overlord went behind his main, and you scouted from the side, and you looked at like, you know, the side of his base, and you like, you know, you went in there, you left or whatever, or when you had Overlord speed, you don't look at necessarily okay, this is probably the better way to explain this. You just pay attention to everything that you see, and you look at what also he doesn't have, and that rules out what could happen. Like, and this is where I can.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, like if you're like, okay, he has a 3rd command center, which means he doesn't have 5 barracks. I know I'm not getting all in. I can drone like crazy right now. Or if you scouted him and you're like, he has a lot of fucking production right now, and there's no 3rd command center. Okay, I can saturate my 3rd base, but I cannot saturate a 4th base, because I'm gonna die. Like if I go for 85 drones right now, and my army size is 20, and he's just off of 2 bases makes an army size of 60 supply, so it's my 20 army size versus his 60, and I just made 20 more drones. Of course you're gonna die then, because you're like, well, fuck, I'm saturating 4 bases when he's just 2 base all-inning me. But so you really, all you want to look at when you scout him with an Overseer or a speeded Overlord is like, what currently does he have, and like what is the investment here? What's happening? And like if you scout someone's base with Overlord speed, when you did at like 5 minutes or something, it was like 5 I think it was like 517 was when you saw that third command center floating over the wall, and then you saw a Banshee following it, and you saw one starport in his base, and it had a tech lab, and then you scouted and saw a fourth command center that was being built, and you saw a factory with no add-on and a barracks with no add-on. That is like the least intimidating Terran you could ever see, because it means he doesn't.
So it's just looking at the scouting information and.
Yeah, well, like it's just like deducing him, right? Like you're like, okay, well, no fucking add-on on a barracks, no stim pack, no combat shield, no concussive shells, no marauders, no nothing on bio. It's just one barracks as well. There's 0 bio pressure here. Okay, now factory, no add-on again. There's no fucking Thor production, no tank production, no cyclone production. He can literally make a Hellion or a Widow Mine one at a time, which is like if you have just like 6 roaches, you're easy. Like it would take a Terran. The build time of a Hellion is 21 seconds. It would take, if you had like 6 roaches like you made early on, like you did, it would take a Terran to have like 20 fucking Hellions to be able to overpower 6 roaches. I'm not even kidding. Or like 18 to 20 Hellions. And that would take him probably like, I don't know, I'm guessing a number here, probably like 4.5 minutes to build that. It would take a fucking long time. So that's more than enough time for you to make drones. So his build was very non-threatening. And then again, when you see things like, oh wow, he's going for a really early planetary and he's making really early missile turrets. These things are also massive economy fucks, like just mess ups for him, where think about it like this. Just because he made a planetary is not like, oh well, he doesn't have mules now. It's not the only reason why it's bad. It's because it's so expensive on gas that he has to mine gas before he's fully saturated on mineral lines that to be able to even afford building a planetary. It's the same thing you did to yourself when you never took your workers off gas, where you just mined it way too fast, and you have this mineral inefficiency going on in your build, where you're doing all these gas priorities, which means you're going to have a low mineral count. So seeing that he makes PFs should tell you, wow, his economy sucks ass, because it's expensive to make that, and now he also doesn't get mules. And then he also makes turrets everywhere. This dude made like 12 turrets or some shit. How many does he have right now? He has 10 turrets. This guy has fucking 10 turrets, and he was making. He actually had turrets in his base when your first Overlord with speed was flying through it at 5 minutes, and that's fucking expensive, because that means he lost mining time to build the turret for the SCV. That's the less crucial part, but it is a factor. So SCV was not mining minerals when it should have been, because he's definitely not fully saturated at that point. And then the turret itself is another 100 minerals. Each turret. Then I think you saw like 3 turrets on his base at that point, which is fucking so expensive.
So let me echo it back with the. So you pull the drones off gas, two of them, and then you leave one on until you saturate your second base. At which point you build 2 new ones to saturate your first gas, and then you don't take the rest of the gas until the third is saturated.
You take gases 2 and 3 when your natural is like halfway saturated, or when your third base is like halfway saturated. So 16, and like 8, you could take gases 2 and 3.
Okay.
And then once you're fully saturated in all 3 bases and all 3 of those gases, then you take your last gases. And I'm gonna give you a build example of this too. So if you forget and you're like, wait, what the fuck? Or this will be a VOD as well that you can go back and watch again. So at any point if you forget, you have the VOD for the rehashing the information again, and I'll make you a really quick tutorial thing of just the build order.
And then a quick aside question, what do you recommend for Evo chamber timing?
Once you're done, once you have fully saturated everything, gases, all 3 bases, gases and mineral lines, and you start your 4th base, and ideally, if you ever have money problems, make a macro hatch when you do that. If you're able to kind of inject and spin your larva, then you don't need a macro hatch. But basically, when you start a 4th base, that's when, and you're fully saturated, that's when you start your Evo chamber and your Hydroden together.
Okay.
Because if you start it too early, that's again gas expenses, where it seems like you're like, well, I need the gas to spin this. And if you're not fully saturated, it's not just about the gas cost. It's about the fact that you're investing, you're detracting minerals away, and you're investing in the gas to be able to afford gas expenses. And then on top of that, the gas expenses also cost minerals to make, because it's like 50-50, 100 minerals, 100 gas, 150 minerals, 150 gas for the upgrades in your Evos. And that's going to, once again, fuck your minerals again, because you're now investing even more minerals to then afford an upgrade that costs gas. So if you do it too early, it severely messes your build up.
Okay.
And yeah, now at this point, the problem that you're having now, I definitely would say is, like, look at the harvester count. He's got 91. You have 69. This Terran is going to have a ridiculous bank for pretty much forever until some of his bases start dying, if that happens. But if you look at this game and go, fuck, dude, how the hell do you deal with mass ravens? Like, the fact that he's going mass ravens, which is insanely expensive, and he's doing it off of mass PFs, and you're going to be, by the time you attack him, it seems like you're going to be matched in with him in supply. That should never happen. Like, you should be maxed out when this dude has like 100 supply. Because you should.
It's more of a consequence of the.
Yeah, your build.
Macro
Yes. You should be maxed like right now. I'm not even kidding. You should be maxed right now. This is going back to when we talked about this earlier. If you're maxed right now, he has no ravens. He has 1 banshee, 1 Viking, 3 marine, and you could easily run over multiple PFs right now because all he can do is repair it. And you know, if you were maxed, you would have easily enough to go, oh, well, you're repairing it, I'll still kill it. But your build was just so inefficient that you're allowing him to, you know, go for a much higher tech army than you, yet keep your supply number. And because your army's not high tech. Your army's Roach Hydra, which is very cheap. Your army is the equivalent of him maxing out on, like, mass Hellions with some Cyclones.
Okay.
Which is a very non-durable army. It's very powerful if you have supply advantages, but it's very bad if you you know, if you don't punish your opponent, because it's one of those armies where you should gain control of the game fast, and not you don't allow your opponent to just like have 13 minutes of whatever they want to do, because it means your build's just inefficient. So now, now it's just again, he's maxed at this point. This is the first time you guys are actually fighting, right here. Like, nothing has happened really up until this point. And he is now going to throw away his Hellbats, and he's going to make more Ravens, most likely. Like, he's going to maybe make Hellions again too, but his Raven count will continue to grow. And if you ever find yourself in a situation where you're against Ravens like this, what you need to do is, number one, I would say probably make a few more Overseers so that you can deal with Widow Mines that are scattered everywhere. And number two, this is okay. I'm just gonna. What I would do is maybe not what I would recommend you to do, but what I would say an easy way to deal with this would be is use a spellcaster. If you use like infestors, yeah. You could, if you land 1 fungal, you could kill every Raven.
Okay.
Because he can't run away, and you could just fucking run him down and kill him. Another thing you could do is like you could use Viper too, but I think infestors would be more punishing to him, because fungal could catch like literally 15 Ravens at once, and you could just have Hydras kill them all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you mind if we switch up? Would you be down to switch up replays here?
Yeah, sure, that's fine. This game is 100%. It's all about inefficiency of your build. I'm not even like, we could talk about a lot of things, but if you just clean that build up, that game wouldn't even look like that. For sure.
Yeah, that's kind of what I figured from that.
Okay, we'll go. We'll do the next one pretty fast. I just left. And then if you want me to make that build, we can make this fast, so I can make you the build. Because we'll need like 8 minutes for that.
Okay.
All right, then promote me to lobby host, and we'll do it up. Okay, do you know how long this one is, just off the top of your head?
I don't.
Okay, it's all good.
I mean, the main thing would just be to focus on the macro at the beginning, because I remember this one felt good.
Okay.
So, just to have some pick apart on something that currently was feeling.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's 14 minutes. I'll look at your build again, and we'll see what's going on. I think your biggest weaknesses right now, honestly, is, I'm not even kidding, I think it's your scouting and your build order.
Okay.
So if you just prioritize a little bit more scouting and try to start understanding like build order of things, and understand what your opponent is capable of doing at that point in time when you scout things, that's going to definitely help you a lot. And then giving you a build that you can follow, that's going to make your build just cleaner, just in general, regardless of scouting, is going to definitely help a lot too. So like this game, your Overlord flew over the Reaper like we talked about earlier. This is appropriate to make Lings now, and that's totally great. Because now you can see how your Queens aren't done yet, and the Reaper's in your base. That's why the Lings are important. So the other game, it didn't make sense. And now, but again, you're not scouting the... Like, I like that you at least scouted the natural for the command center. But when you saw that Reaper, you could have 100% scouted his ramp. And if you would have scouted his ramp, if your Overlord was here right now, I'll just tell you rather than asking you, because we're kind of short on time. If you ever see a reactor on a barracks next to a factory, and you see the production time of the factory and then the reactor are similar, 100% it's Hellions.
Okay.
If you ever see a barracks with a reactor that is almost done and a factory that is just starting, so the factory would be like red health and the reactor would be like almost green, that is not Hellions. That is most likely going to be a 2-1-1 bio type of thing. Because that means that there is guaranteed a second barracks in his base somewhere, and he is like he's not going to be going Hellions because what that means is he prioritized the multiple barracks to be able to, you know, like the factories for tech, it's not for Hellion production essentially, because that it's just so awkwardly timed with the reactor in the factory. And and here's the thing, because chat loves to say, I read my Twitch chat while we're talking about this, and it's hilarious when I reach it like this. Let me tell you one thing. Even if you're wrong and you're like, it's, even if the guy's, like, if you're wrong because you read the build correctly, but the guy does something else where he makes a reactor super fast, and his reactor is at 90% completion, and then he starts a factory, and then he just starts going Hellions. His build is so shitty, and it's so inefficient that if that's what he does, even if you're wrong, it doesn't matter, you're still fine. Because if you react to it in a way where it was a 2-1-1 and you just do your build or whatever, and you're playing efficiently, and you're like, oh wow, he made Hellions, what the fuck? But they're like 40 seconds late. You're still fine because you have more than enough to kill them at that point. Exactly. You can do the wrong thing efficiently and beat something that is the right thing inefficiently. Like, like nothing has. The only thing that needs to be perfect is your build order needs to be a little bit more efficient, because you can be wrong then and still win. Because you're like, oh, I just have enough shit though. Like, even though I made the wrong thing, I still have enough of it, so I win anyways.
So in this one again, it's the early gases.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yep. And your third is super late. Your third should be going down way earlier. Your layer's really fast. You're never stopping mining gas. Like, this looks like I'm not even kidding. This looks like a Nidus all-in is what you're doing. Like, for the amount of gas you have. And then you're taking your other gases. You're going for a hydrogen. Like, you're prioritizing a Roach Hydra so hard here. Like, we're not really breaking down the build point for point here, but I can already tell your build is so inefficient. And now you're going for a Spire. The build definitely... go ahead.
So it's tech too early, gas too early.
Yeah.
You prioritize the minerals.
At 6 minutes, this game, again, you should be 66 drones already. Right now, easily. And you're a full base... like, your third base should be fully saturated right now.
Okay.
And notice how Hellions are coming here too. Not only should your third base be fully saturated, you should also have queens and units like Zerglings that could defend this too. Like, your queen count right now is at 4. Your queen count right now could actually be like 7. And you have roaches, which is, you've chosen roaches. And if you're gonna go roaches this fast, it only would make sense if it was like a Hellbat all-in. Which, if you're scouting him with Overlord, you know, then that's fine. I guess if you scouted, let me see what you scouted actually. You actually scouted nothing. So again, you're scouting. You're just making guesses here. What you should have right now is, I would say you should have probably like 14 Zerglings and like 4 queens zoning out the Hellions. So, and the way it should go too is you should can you see my ping really fast before I tell you this on the map? Okay, you should have an Overlord like there, an Overlord there, and an Overlord there right now too. Because if you play this way with Speedling openers, you should always put Overlords in front of your creep so that you can see, especially if you know it's Hellions. And you could have easily known it was Hellions with their first Overlord when you scouted his natural, because you saw the reactor and the factory timing. And if you put your Overlords like that in front of, and the reason why those locations are important is because they're the entrances to your base from the ramps. They're just in front of your creep. It allows you to see where the Hellions are when your creep can't yet give you that vision because it hasn't spread that far yet. And the Overlords don't die because it's Hellions. So your Queens can always be in the right position on top of the ramp. When the Hellions go up, you go up with Queens, and you're on creep, so you can easily get there before he does. He tries to go up the ramp, you smack him 4 times or 5 times, he runs away. He goes further up. You continuously zone him out again and again and again and again. And if he does decide, you know what, I'm gonna fucking run past your Queens, and I'm just gonna do YOLO. Let's go YOLO, baby. Let's go for the drones. That's when you use your Zerglings, and you just catch him with Zerglings, and you're like, as soon as he tries to run by the Queens, Zerglings just go catch him. Go get on top of his Hellions, and he'll take a shitload of damage as he tries to just run past your army, because Hellions are actually very, very, very fragile units.
Yeah. Okay.
But if you did scout him and you made like the 14 lings, and now you started making roaches because he is actually going mech and he's going BC Hellion, making roaches is actually totally appropriate here, and making the spire would be totally appropriate here with Carapace, because he's going for, again, BC and Hellion. So Corruptors with Carapace would be amazing. You actually have no idea that he even has a starport, and you have no idea that he has a fusion core, and you're choosing to go Carapace Corruptor, which is, you're totally blindly guessing here, and it's correct, but it's fucking blind. Which, again, it's, if you know tendencies of what people are going to do and you have an idea, that's okay. But the fact that you also went for Hydras, you got Roach Speed, and like Roach Speed is good, but you're going for full Hydra upgrades and Spire upgrades. This doesn't make any sense anymore. You definitely want to pick one of those two. And I would say if you know it's BCs, Corruptor is always the better choice. If you just actually max out Roach Corruptor, you would win the game at this point. Like, you could never let him have a third base, and he would just win because he would just be starved. All right. Well, again, right now we're looking at your drone count again. You're at 64 at 8 minutes, and the fact that he has a third base, regardless of the fact that he has BCs, you should still have like 80 drones right now. So, because you have more than enough units to defend it. Like, you should have enough Queens to easily shut down 1 BC. And you should have, we're assuming you don't have any roaches yet, and we're assuming maybe your Corruptors haven't started yet, which is very realistic if you're prioritizing your economy and delaying your tech. You should have easily enough Queens by 1 spore per base, and easily enough Queens, which would be like probably 9 Queens, like we talked about earlier, to deal with this. So you'd have like 3 injecting and like 6 shooting the BC. 6 Queens can easily fucking destroy a BC. And then you would have, if you knew it was BC Hellion, and from this point, you would be having roaches now would be fine. You could have like 8 roaches, which could easily zone out all of these Marines that are coming at you right now. And if this was instead like 7 Hellions instead of 7 Marines, you could even zone that out, no problem. It wouldn't matter. And you'd be fine. And the fact that he has a 3rd command center guarantees you that this army is going to be a very small size. This is like a harassment, not an all-in, because he has a 3rd. So if you prioritize economy because your opponent also prioritized economy, you can always stay a step ahead of him because you can make workers faster than he can, which is what Zerg is supposed to do.
Yeah. Okay.
And he doesn't even attack you either. He just backs up. So, like, all these roaches you have right now, 12 is actually not that bad, but you have 4 Hydras too. Like 16 units is getting maybe a little bit excessive, and now you're making more again. Now you have 19 Roach Hydra, and you have some Corruptor. And this is, again, when you're at 64 drones. It's totally fine to make drones when you're fully saturated on 3 bases, or when you're fully saturated at the economy you want to go for. And the rule you should always go for is 1 base above your opponent. If you see a 3rd base, take 4 bases saturation. If you see only 2 bases and you do not see a 3rd base from Terran, 3 base saturation for you. Always +1 what he has, up to 4 bases for you. So don't make 100 drones on 5 bases. But like once you get to like 85 on 4 bases, from that point you can just be like, crank out whatever unit you think you need to make. And even if you're wrong and you're like, I made Hydras, and ViBE said Corruptors are better, but I still have Hydras. If you're maxed at 9 minutes, which you should be, if you went Hydras, imagine if you were maxed out right now and he's at 120, you would run his ass over.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, it is a macro problem for you. Like that is the big one. And again, scouting secondary to that. I don't mind that you're using Overlord speed. That's fine. I would say just, again, try your best to really get reads in his base where there's 2 windows for it. Number 1, get a read right when your first overload gets there, and try to see his ramp, and try to see the natural, and just get maybe a little bit of a read on what's happening. The second timer you should go for is right around 4 minutes to 4:30. That is the perfect time to scout what he's doing, because that is when he's going to show you a third command center or more production for a non-weird ass build. And if it's weird and you're like, I don't know what the fuck this is, keep scouting in his base, like maybe every 30 seconds. Like send another overlord in or something. Like, because if you have speed, you probably won't lose it. But yeah.
All right, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. All right, so leave that really fast because we're kind of strapped for time here, and then I will make you a build so you can just have one.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, dude. All right, I'm going to re-invite you just so I can make a game really fast. Okay. All right. Okay, and then yeah, this could be your build versus pretty much everything, especially Terran. Like Zerg vs Zerg is a little different. Again, like I said, it depends. If Zerg vs Zerg is its own kind of beast, where it really depends on how aggressive your opponent's going to be. It changes things. But Zerg vs Terran and Zerg vs Protoss, this could be your standard opener, pretty much all the time. And if you like to prioritize Roach Hydra Lurker, stuff like that, that's fine. I have no problem with your preference at the moment of unit. Because if you just macro it better out, like get a more efficient way to max, you're still gonna crush everybody you play against. All right. So, and again, if there's any questions you have at any point in time that you know, while I'm doing this, feel free to ask anything, even if it's not related to the game we're playing right now. It's totally fine.
Sounds good. Do you have any recommendations in ZvZ for avoiding the sort of nuclear arms race that is the race to lurkers? Because that seems to be most of what I'm facing right now.
ZvZ, if you just what you could do is you could do like early timing builds. You could do like really early like Ling Roach timing builds if you want to avoid that kind of shit altogether. You could go for muta builds if you want to avoid that. Muta builds definitely, if you know how to efficiently saturate your base, you can definitely make muta builds pretty annoyingly strong. And then the last one would be the most standard way to play ZvZ. You could just go for Roach Ravager, like 3 base saturated Roach Ravager timings. And the goal would then be get Zergling speed, run through his base, make sure you're not getting all in, and if you know he's not going for like mass units, and you just make drones as fast as you can on 3 bases, you could just make mass roaches and go Roach Ravager, max out at like 8 minutes. Seriously, again, like 8 minutes to like 8:30, and then you just have Ravagers and Roaches and run them over.
Okay.
Because like a lot of your, I feel like a lot of your problems, where it's like, well, does this work? Does that work? Does this work? It feels like it doesn't when it should, because your supply is so far behind what it should be when you're playing Roach styles. So I feel like if you just kind of like respect the build a bit more, in terms of like, you know, the timings of when things should be going down, suddenly everything for you is going to start looking like way smoother. And you're like, wow, okay. So like right now, I made the Lings. Always know when you make your Lings, you should see a Reaper crossing your Overlord right now. This should always happen. And if there is no Reaper crossing your Overlord, you could always make the 4 for now just to be extra safe. But just know that that's even more reason, though, that you should actually scout his base, because there's a chance he's going to be doing something fucking weird now. Like he's going to be having something awkward happening in there. Like maybe something like, you know, he's not going to make a Reaper at all. He's going for a really fast factory. He's doing what that guy did, where he made an engineering bay and a planetary really fast. That was super weird. But now I'm going to take 2 drones off gas. So now notice how even though I'm getting Overlord speed, I still took my 3rd base, and I still put 2 of my drones on mineral line at my natural when it only had 5. Now it went to 7.
Okay.
So this is way more efficient in your economy. It's going to allow you to have so much more, and you're still getting Overlord speed.
That makes a lot of sense. Because I've tried practicing just versus like very easy AI, just like practicing my macro, and I never seem to quite hit some of the times you talked about.
Yeah.
I was like, what's happening here? Am I just that slow, or?
Yeah, it's definitely your gas. The gas is fucking you pretty badly. And now we have Overlord speed. So right now, this is a little early, and I was saying 4 to 4:30 would be a great time to do it. But you could even scout now. You're like, oh, I got Overlord speed. What's he doing? Cool. Let's find out. And now I'm fully saturated on 2 mineral lines, so I can send my Overlord back. Or sorry, I can send 2 drones back to the gas. And now I'm saturating gas, or base number 3 off of this now too. And now I'm still also making queens. I can send 3 drones to my 3rd. Drones and queens. And now look at my 3rd. It's already got 11 drones on it. So now I'm gonna give it a second. I'm gonna get my queens started that I need to spin first. I also need to make a few more lings here because this is that moment when you probably want to make some safety lings. Your speed's done now, so maybe make like 10 safety lings just in case he has like Hellions that dive you. And now it doesn't matter where you make them. You can make them at your 3rd if you want to. Make a couple gases. Gases 2 and 3. And now you can also start your layer at this point, and you can start, if you want to go roaches, start a roach warren. And keep making drones again. And keep making queens.
So just keeping 1 queen in production at each of those.
At natural 3rd, yep. And you want to go up to 7. And we're gonna like let's just say he's not going for a battlecruiser or something, because we just scouted there's no starport. We're feeling okay to stop at like 7.
I saw you sent the drones to the mineral line and then pulled from the mineral line to the gas. Is that?
Are you talking about the natural back to the main?
Or at the 3rd? Is that usually what you do instead of just custom rallying drones to the? Yeah,
at that point it's okay because you have like it's an excess at that point, and you had more than what you needed. Like you need like 8, and we had like 14, so it's okay to rip off there. You just want to have you always want to like maintain good saturations. But like right now, I'm actually rallying new eggs to the mineral line. From new eggs into the gas. I'm not actually ripping off the mineral lines anymore. I was just kind of like cranking drones that whole time when I ripped the drones off. So new drones were going to replace it anyways really fast. And now we're going to start a 4th base because we're fully saturated. We are also going to start our Hydroden and our double Evo like you talked about before. This is when you would take them. And we're going to start roach speed, and we're going to go into roaches now. But look at the timer. It's 6 minutes, and look at my drone count. 66. At 6 minutes in the last 2 games we watched, one time you were at 41 and the other time you were like 44.
Okay.
And then now we're going to make like a little bit of safety roaches just to be extra safe about, what could be happening. Like this, you don't know exactly what your opponent's doing. Let's just say we scouted him again and we're like, oh, we saw a 3rd command center. This is when you would make drones for your 4th. If you don't see a 3rd command center, this is when you would max out.
Okay. All right. This gives me a lot to work on. Thank you.
And so we'll just assume, that, we'll assume we saw a 3rd. So we're like, okay, cool. We can make drones for our 4th. Look at my drone count already. At 650, if you mouse over top right of my drone count, it's 84 because the drones are already in production. So they're like popping out right now, basically. And we can now, from here, max out with a ridiculous drone count where we can max out super fast. And like I was saying before, you should have been maxed in a lot of your games. You could even have Lurker Den, all your tech, like before 9 minutes. So we should, with the pace we're going right now, we should definitely max before 9 minutes.
Okay. Awesome.
And then, so I'll max, and then we'll just see the timer, and then we'll call it a day there. And then we can, we can even take one of our queens that is creep spreading and remove it from the creep spread squad and just make it go become an ejector for the 4th base that we just made. And we're going full Hydra now. All the way to max, we're just going to go full Hydra. And then, if maybe make some lurkers even. Okay, and then an Overlord we're actually supply block for a second, but it's okay. Even if we're supply block, we'll still fucking do it before 9 minutes. Like, you can even make a couple mistakes and still... Like, look at that. We're 8 minutes and we're already at 182 supply. This is way before 9 minutes. And this is including the fact that we took lurkers and Overlord speed early, which is 2 things that slow you down even more. And we're maxed out or go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's the decision to go for the 5th base thing?
It doesn't matter. So, like, you could take it above or below, but we're taking it because our main is starting to mine out.
Okay, so just when you finish the 4th, just take the 5th.
Yeah,
or when
you're gonna totally have enough money to do it. You just don't want to have your drones inefficiently mining, You want to always have drones mining really well. So taking new bases as current bases mine out is definitely what you want to be doing. But we just maxed out at 8 minutes and 18 seconds with a lurker den, with a hive, with upgrades, with Roach Hydra. All this shit is super fast max. And your game, again, at this timer, you at like 9 minutes. We've been maxed out for like the last 40 seconds. And at 9 minutes in your games, you were at like 130, 140. So if you replicate this build of just when you take your shit, you're going to be like, if you actually max before 8:30, you're going to be like, wow, my opponent has 92 supply. My opponent has 88 supply. If you're playing the same players you're still playing right now.
Awesome. Okay.
All right. Good shit, man. I would definitely recommend saving that replay so you can just compare. Like, that's going to be a constant reference for you. And then, yeah. I'll also send you the VOD tomorrow. I'll upload this later tonight, and then I'll have it on YouTube by tomorrow, and I'll give you the VOD, the link to it back in the Discord chat we have so you can see it again and watch it as many times as you like.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man.
All right. Thank you, man. Thank you for doing a coaching lesson, and I wish you the best of luck, dude.
Thanks, man. You have a
All
great
hail
afternoon.
the power of macro.
Peace, bro.
Peace.
Okay. Yo, Bargain Gilo, thank you very much, bro, for doing another coaching lesson. Much appreciated. I'm sorry. I know I kind of rushed him out. I do have to do Pylon show in the next like 10 minutes. I got to be on that for like prep. So I'm a little bit busy today. But yo, much love, man. Bargain Gilo. Thank you again. If you guys like this lesson, check out more of them. I have many more like this. I have lots of coaching lessons, lots of replay analysis stuff, lots of Bronze to GM tutorial guides on how to play StarCraft. But thank you guys. I will see you in the next video. Until then, take it easy. Much love. Good luck. And peace out.